appreciate when he's on. Today we have John Palmiotto. He is the chief, John, I might screw this up, production officer or retail production officer for Guaranteed Rate. That means all retail production rolls up to him at Guaranteed Rate. I've known John a long time. He's awesome. He always has great words of wisdom and awesome pearls for us to take away. Again, we haven't had a call here in a little bit because of President's Day. So I think some of you might say the market got worse. The rates went up a little bit. There's even less houses. I just want to start off by telling you before I ask John a couple of questions. I am fortunate enough every week. I'm usually with a different loan officer every week in person somewhere. And I'm also with real estate agents every week somewhere. And I'm usually with anywhere between 30, 40, 50 real estate agents. And also, as you all know, I do work with a bunch of real estate agents, helping them with their business. And I will tell you that the good agents are bullish still on this market, are talking to sellers, potential sellers. They do have listings coming on. They are not buying the hype that I'm going to call it the media is selling regarding it's not a good time to sell, it's not a good time to buy, all of these different things. What the rates are going to do, I'm not going to prognosticate about that. The only thing I will say is one of the things that's really sparked the market, let me go backwards, sparked pre-qualification activity is the fact that the consumers are used to where the rates are now. Now, I realize it just popped up a little bit, but you all are pre-qualifying them and showing them payments at obviously a higher rate than a 3.25% 30-year fixed. And they finally wrap their arms around it because people need to buy and people need to sell. There is some wisdom being talked about out there when you're talking about debt and credit card rates and these subprime car notes I was talking about with Brian Marks this morning. What agents are telling me is when they're able to really sit down with people and show them what they can sell their house for, there are people that are getting over their low 30-year fixed rate real quick when they realize they could sell their house, get the money out of their house, pay off all their high interest rate debt, buy another house with prevailing rates, and their monthly cash flow is significantly lower. Those of you that don't know how to work that math, that's something you should be very good at because that's real math and that is not smoke and mirrors. You pay off a bunch of debt in the teens, and then turn around and get a new mortgage at 6 or whatever it is. Your total monthly payments are way lower than where they were with the mortgage at 3.25 and a whole bunch of debt in the teens, which we know that a lot of people have right now. So, with that said, this is a ground and pound market. I want to just, those of you that have been through crush groups and are sort of, I'm going to call it, Joel people that either I work with or been through crush groups. I had a really incredible meal in Connecticut a couple of weeks ago, and one of the lovely, awesome real estate agents that was at dinner with me, stood up at the end and said, I've never really done this with a loan officer before. And what I wanted to tell you and then she proceeded to say, yeah, I'm getting between 30 and 35 phone calls a day from loan officers using dumb scripts or having biz dev people call me. And she was laughing out loud. So any of you all that are doing that and getting nowhere, just know that it's pretty much going to get you nowhere. You actually have to get out there and do the work. I wanted to throw that out there because it was an incredible message for loan officers that are sitting around not doing the work. John, I wanted to ask you, just because the position you're in, and this isn't Guaranteed Rate, this is in general. What have you heard anything regarding numbers of loan officers not renewing their licenses, or companies? For the first time, John, in my career, I'm seeing companies really put plans in place to get rid of low producers as well, meaning to just not let them hang around and linger. I'd love to just get your thoughts on that as far as thinning the herd for the rest of these guys as the market comes back.
honestly, Joe, we've been doing that. And it's good to be here with you. And hello, everyone. Some familiar faces on there. So good to see Mr. Parker and Luzzy and some others. Um, yeah, we've been working on that really continually for a year and a half. This cycle really started about 18 months ago, and it looks like it's going to have legs to continue another 6 months. So we're looking at a 2-year cycle, one of the longer cycles that I can remember in my 25 years or whatever it is, maybe 27 years, I should say. So I don't see a lot of despair out there. Like a lot of loan officers I'm talking to, like a lot of the folks that we're interacting with, both recruiting and internally, are still optimistic and have good energy, and they're working real hard and they're doing a lot of things. And I'm not seeing this massive mass exodus of the business like you would think, because it's hard. Not as of yet, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I'm John, I'm starting to see companies where you could really linger and stick around. When that draw hits the $5,000 mark, there's no more sitting around.
Yeah.
Those LOs are being jettisoned away, and the things I'm hearing is they're hard getting hired someplace else. Normally, another company would pick them up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, just look at what some of the banks are doing, Wells in particular. They're taking more of an institutional sales model approach to their business. So that's affected a lot of loan officers at Wells in particular. Net branching has always been around, but during COVID, that became like the euphoric type thing because the volume environment was so profitable. Now, all of a sudden, those net branches are under more financial pressure with business being hard. So we're starting to see some cracks in people that chose that path. And to your point, it's like if they're carrying people that can't carry themselves, it's cost they can't afford. So there is some of that happening. I think overall, though, like what I see mainly is most of us in leadership positions, we're doing our best to try to hang on to good people that are working hard, that are trying to get through this cycle. And, we're optimistic. We're closer to the dawn than we are the dark. So I do feel, and I think many of our leadership team here feels like we're within 3 to 4 to 5 months to coming out the other end. So if you have somebody that's working hard, doing the right things, following the model, I know at least from our perspective, we're doing everything possible to stay in the game with them.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about is, what are their activities? What are they doing? It's really hard. You guys look at it up top. A lot of times you get caught looking at a bunch of numbers, right? And
Yep.
and you don't realize what's going on behind the numbers. I don't mean you in particular. I mean, a lot of times the top of the house is looking at the numbers and they're not diving all the way down. John, I'd love to hear your thoughts on your branch leaders, your people down at that level. What are they doing, or branch managers, whatever you call them at Guaranteed Rate? What are they doing to keep people positive? What are your great loan officers? Obviously, you got some of the best loan officers in the country that work for your company, which is kind of cool. But what are they doing to stay super positive every day besides grinding? I know they're grinding.
Right.
But
We're doing a lot of, we've always been big on internal coaching, Joel, as you know. So we do a lot of internal coaching calls. My boss and CEO Victor is heavily involved with all of our calls and coming up with different strategic initiatives to keep people engaged, keep positive. We're focusing on speed, and we have a campaign we're actually going out right now. Victor's rolling it out publicly, that is focusing on speed as an initiative. We're putting a lot of emphasis on first-time homebuyer seminars. We're seeing a lot of our folks, it's really interesting that they're moving to the market. Some folks that have been, I won't mention names, but that are heavily jumbo, all of a sudden they're learning everything they can about bond loans, learning everything they can about renovation loans. They're getting really aggressive in the first-time homebuyer space. They've totally changed their mindset on saying, this market has shifted. I've got to shift my business. I've got to get involved with activities that are going to put me in a better position to win business. So really, I see a lot of that happening here. And we talk about it a ton internally to keep shifting people's mindsets into where the business is and where it lies and things they have to do to go out and get after it.
Yeah, John, you say the word speed. The best loan officers in the country, there's a bunch of them on here right now. I'm a fortunate guy. I work with a bunch of them. They're telling their agent partners, write 10-day closes all day long. They're docking those files completely up front. I call that a BIC, which is a button car. They've got everything. All they need is the appraisal and the title work, and they're closing basically, and the earnest money. And, a 10-day close is a pretty good solve for battling back against any super aggressive rates. It's very hard for anyone that doesn't know what they're doing to close loans in 10 days.
Totally. And one of the things that I talk to people a lot about is you have to really work on your execution of sales on both relationship and borrower now more than ever. Like everybody's fighting hard, everybody's pricing tight. I would assume most of you all on the line are trying to do the best job possible when you're in front of a new agent or in front of a new potential applicant. It's not like during COVID, look, this industry was capacitized to do less volume than existed, right? So in theory, if you lost the loan, you really didn't lose a loan because there's another one coming behind it. In this market, if you lose, you go home without a loan. Someone else goes home with a loan. If you go after a realtor partner, someone else is taking that relationship from you. You're going out a relationship. So really thinking about how to create value in the process, both going after the agents, going after the borrowers. How are you differentiating yourself? What's your message? Something else I don't think people think enough about is like, how are you coming across on social media? What's the real perception of your social media campaign? Worth exploring. Reach out to partners, former buyers, and say, hey, what do you think of my social media? Do you like the content? Are you getting value from it? And just get some really good direct feedback on what you're actually doing, because I don't need to tell anybody on this phone, it's massively competitive right now. We're all beating the same bush where, you mentioned needs, kind of a needs-based market. And that's what I say all the time is, any industry based that you're only getting need-based purchasing, it gets super competitive. We're not getting the, hey, I'm going to stretch for the second home, the investment home, the move up home right now. It's kind of like I need a home because my family circumstances changed, whatever. I got relocated, so in a needs-based market, man, business is tight and your ability to execute is more important.
Yeah, this is John, sort of like the market that I started in, except the rates were higher. And this is a real market. This is a market. You have a baby, you move. You got to move here, you move. Your kids are all out of the house. You sell your house and you move down. I mean, this isn't I'm going to be a house flipper and start buying investment properties using a 90 LTV, investor product that probably never should have even been in the market anyway. And then I'm going to get, then I'm going to get strung out on it. John, social media, you'll laugh. I was just in front of just in front of 50 agents. And I'm like, so if you put up a really good social media post and you like it a lot, probably take it down because it's not for you, it's for everyone else. So I'm like, ask other people what they think about it, not like your best friends and not your mom. You know what I mean? Because the other thing, John, and I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know who all these video kings and queens are, but man, I mean, I can't believe how many people haven't figured out the 18-second rule. If your video is longer than 18 seconds, by the way, people are literally sound asleep. I mean, they're done. They're like, can you please send me can I just read it, please? Please, enough. Stop with the video, please. Yeah. So you're right, John. The way, what's in our feeds is a really, really, really big deal. And the other thing you're talking about with the agents, John, I just asked people, and I had a couple blank stares in a crush group. I was like, so if you ever let anyone into your online app without talking to them first, like, you're insane. And I saw people looking at their feet. You know what I mean? I'm like, no. Those online apps are freezing cold up in there. It's like an igloo. You can't let people in there without touching them. You got to keep your hand on them all the way through. They don't know what they're doing in there. And you were talking about, customer experience. John, there's a lot of loan officers that have never really had to operate that way before. And they're having a hard time learning. And what they say to me is, oh my God, this is so hard. This is taking me so much longer. And I say to them, no. This is actually normal. This is not abnormal. You're supposed to be talking to people. You're not supposed to be talking to them for a minute.
Joe, to your point, it's like you have to be sharp. I say this to our leaders a lot. I'm speaking more to leaders in my job presently than I am loan officer. So in that context, though, it's the same. It's like when you're having a conversation with someone, if you're off 1 degree, that conversation can go in a completely different direction or not be perceived as positively as you'd like. It's almost like hitting a golf ball. If your driver is 1/8 off, right? The ball goes into the woods versus going in the fairway. So I think people today in our business have to really slow down and act and think about what they're saying, what they're doing, and realize like there's other people competing and you want to be the best and sharpest you can be with that person at point of sale to make them know that you're going to take care of them. You're going to bring home their loan. It's going to be a great process. It's going to be a great experience, because all the time I hear, hey, I lost the loan on price. That is the absolute laziest thing a consumer can say to a loan officer is I found a better deal. Of course, they're not going to say, hey, I didn't enjoy talking to you. You didn't know what you were talking about. You were boring. They're going to be like, I got to, so, right. Like that's just the easiest excuse to say they went somewhere else. So, hopefully.
Yeah, John, I mean, it goes right to the thing you've heard me say, a trillion times. What are the two best sales techniques? Guilt and sympathy. You can't have either one of them without emotions and without a connection. And
Yep.
and a lot of loan officers are struggling with really connecting. They're not used to it, and they don't realize it. As I say all the time, what's the number one reason loan officers fail? They don't want any more new best friends. Like they don't want to go deep with anyone. And the problem is, the challenge in this market is, if you're not going deep with everyone, you're going to fail because someone right next to you is doing it, and they're going to take you out. And someone that actually really knows what they're doing. I've been having a lot of these conversations, John, with newer LOs where I'm like, you got to find a mentor to help you. Like, I know you don't know what you're doing. Like a calculator and a pen is not serving you well right now.
Well, here's the other thing. We're going after relationships. We're seeing a lot of loan officers that are trying to live in two markets, and they're doing the COVID thing and going down south, and God bless them. It's all great. However, think about like let's say you're in, I don't know, Rockland County, New York, and you're competing against someone in Rockland County who's not there as much anymore. I mean, there's somebody in that county that's going to come after your business and be pounding the fact in a professional, creative way that you're not quite around as much as you, right? And slowly over time, they're going to take a piece of your business. So to me, like everything that's happening right now, relationship wise, is gone. It's really going back old school, brokers opens, open houses, first time home buying seminars, all the stuff that really worked all the way back to the 90s. But then compounded with that, all that stuff's great. You got to do it, but you also have to have your social media game in place. You also have to have, your whatever CRM you're using and your continual outreach. So you've got to look at your entire marketing plan comprehensively. You can't lean just one way, traditional or via, social media. It's got to be a really healthy blend of both. And in that blend, it has to be great information, positive information, and articulated like with perfect execution.
And we're seeing, John, I'm seeing loan officers leaning on this whole social media thing. That's why I'm making fun of this video stuff. They're spending so much time making videos. They're not doing anything else. And if you look at their pipeline, you can tell they're spending way too much time making videos, because videos are not getting them new pre-quals. But it's easier to make a video and sit in front of a really cool, in some podcast studio or whatever, thinking you're cool, making a video, than it is to actually go deep in a relationship, in a referral relationship. It's way easier to do that. So that's what they're going to do. And what they don't realize is what you just said is the best loan officers are doing everything all at the same time, hardcore, all in.
Yep. And again, get really great producers on this call, and some have teams, some don't, some are at different stages, but there are some folks out there that are really high on the production, chain, that have very deep marketing teams, very skilled marketing people, that are helping them position themselves in the market, right? Probably maybe at a more expedient or aggressive pace than some people listening can. So you have to think like that. They're all those people that have been doing the crazy big numbers. They're coming out harder than ever. So it's not just like regular competition. The best of the best are competing right now. The other thing too is be mindful of like how you represent yourself on social media. I see this all the time. I see loan officers enjoying life, and it's great. It's good to show things you're doing, but like not business week. If you're overplaying the card of how much fun you're having, or you're somewhere remote, you're sending a real subtle message to that agent. The agent's like, hey, that so and so is not in the game. They're not around right now, so I'll go to my B player.
John, it never ceases to amaze me. I work 10 weeks, 10 weeks a year, people that post that all over the place, because you are correct. They do not understand the psychology of their partners at all. And to just quote what you just said and to confirm it, because I work with a lot of these people, the big dogs are looking to get bigger. They're not just looking to hang out. They are looking to take market share. And by the way, you shouldn't be scared of any one of them because you can hold your own against any one of them. You just have to work as hard as they're working. And that's the difference, John, between the two.
I get asked that all the time because, we have, it's not a secret. We have the best loan officers, right? The biggest producing loan officers in the country. And I've become pretty good friends with all of them. They're great people. They're smart. And people ask me all the time, why? And one thing that I will tell you that I see amongst all of them, without mentioning names, is they have an insatiable desire to succeed. They will outwork everyone to get to the levels they're getting, and nothing's ever enough. I mean, without mentioning, the number one, it doesn't matter when you call them and say, hey, by the way, numbers look pretty good this month. Nah, you know what? Should have been better. Just wasn't good enough. I can't, nothing is enough for these people. So, it's they're uber competitive, but I also say to recruits sometimes coming in that they hear stories about folks, and I'm like, look, there's no reason you can't 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% of these people. They're human beings. They put their pants one leg at a time. They go to work. They're doing the same thing you're doing. In some cases, they're probably not even as talented or smart. Who knows? But you know what? Their mind is telling them they can do what they have a goal to do, and they work their butts off to fulfill that vision that they create for themselves.
Yeah, it is a common denominator, John. Again, I'm a fortunate guy, and I usually take a crew to New Orleans every year with 20 or Joel people, and they're all the same people. You know what I mean? They all look different, but they're all the same. They're all very, very driven, smart, humble people that work really hard. And anybody that's taken the time to be on this call can be doing the same thing. I mean, there's no I hate that poor me, or that person can do that because they have a big marketing budget, or they have 9 people on their team. Well, they didn't have 9 people on their team 8 years ago or 5 years ago. Their team, or they had no team, or they looked exactly the way you guys look. And I'll tell you, John, I agree with you. The difference is hard work, organized hard work, not insanity. The old Brian Minkow, I work 8 hours a day. Like, I literally work 8 hours all day. Like, what would happen if you actually worked 8 hours all day? I mean, you get a lot done, right?
I just said a big thing there. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're talking about fitness or business, but being purposeful in what you're doing. Don't just do things for the sake of that, right? It's like, you're going to work out. I'm going to foam roll. Well, foam roll like the right way, like do it thoroughly so you get prepared. It's the same thing in business. If you're going to go call on a realtor, right? Be purposeful together, what you're thinking about. Don't give the person that you're interacting with the idea that you're wasting their time, because a lack of preparation will give the other party that's receiving it the walk away that this person obviously doesn't value my time. They don't even know who I am. They don't know what I do. They don't know about my business. They haven't searched me on Facebook. They don't know anything, right? And they're expecting to start a relationship. So,
John, there are loan officers right now, and I don't know who told them to do this, but they are cold calling agents, asking them to go to lunch. Now, let me tell you how the agents are taking this. All right. They're cold calling someone they don't know and asking them to go to lunch. It's right up there with a white panel van pulling up to a school with, and you opening the door with a clown mask on. I mean, literally, these agents are like, what? Hanging up. They're like, I don't even know who you are. You want to go to lunch with me? How about saying hi to me for a minute instead of dropping a script on me? I mean, it is, I tell loan officers every day, John, every single thing you do all day, if it doesn't meet these two criteria, stop doing it. If it's not deepening an existing relationship or developing a new one, stop doing it. Like literally, don't do it. Don't post it. Don't do it. Don't say it. Nothing. Because all the other stuff is crap and noise. And I will tell you, if I should do one of these calls, John, and put some agents on here, I think some loan officers should be crying if they actually heard what good agents think about the way they're being approached right now. And John, you just said something wonderful that, I don't know if people really heard it about being purposeful. I mean, being purposeful, by the way, people, is hard because you have to figure out what your purpose is. You can't just run and gun. That's not a 2-second thing. You can't, oh, my purpose today is this. No. There's a lot more going on there. And I will tell you, those of you that have ever been called or approached by anyone to ask you for something and they knew nothing about you and demonstrated that they knew nothing about you based on their questions, how did it make you feel? How quickly did you hang up the phone? And I guarantee you it was really fast. John, it's 2:30. Any other just words of wisdom? John, I want to congratulate you publicly. John, the old man Palmiato, got his black belt in jiu-jitsu in about 12 years, I think, which is awesome. And John, give him a couple pearls on just the grind, and then we'll let you out of here on just doing the right thing every day.
Yeah, the only thing what I'd like to recommend everybody is keep your mind healthy and right, and whatever that means for you. And Joel, thanks for the kudos on the black belt and all that. And everybody has different things to keep their mind right and different levels of activity and all that. And you don't have to be a nut, but physical and having physical activity at some level, I do think helps your mind. What you guys are doing is lonely. Leadership's lonely. You don't get a lot of people picking you off the mat today. So you are the one to protect your mind, stay positive. I think the best thing that you can do in this market to keep your mind right and keep your activity up is actually do activities, set up first-time home buyers, do events, get out there, find new agents, be super active, and just know in your minds that the harder work you work now, the deeper the market share penetration you're having is. And when the market and the business snaps back, you're going to be one of the folks to profit from it greatly. So no different than when you were rookies or I was a rookie. We're all paying our dues right now for the next run. And that's how you're investing in the next run. And it will be here. I don't think it's going to be here myself until I think the earliest is fourth quarter. I truthfully think it might even be into next year. So we're bracing ourselves to work our asses off for the rest of the year, but there will be another run, and everything you're doing now, if you're working hard and thoroughly and with purpose, is going to pay massive dividends if you're on the other end of it.
And if you thank you, John. And if you took economics in college, or if you ever took an economics class, the laws of supply and demand. And there's a lot of people right now that want to buy houses. And so this too shall pass. And it will definitely pass. And John, you put it great. I hope everybody re-listens to this podcast because you're putting in your time right now. And by the way, you got an incredible reward in 20 and 21 to actually put this time in. So John Palmiato, thank you very much. Chief Retail Production Officer. I probably screwed that up, John, if I didn't get that perfect. A guaranteed rate. Thank you for your time as always. Everyone, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for your time. See you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.